Hey there, welcome back to my channel. My name is Janelle. Thank you so much for joining me today. I decided to do something a little bit different where I'm going to be doing a book tag. I love watching book tags on YouTube and they're not as popular as they once were, but I decided that doesn't really matter. I would still have a lot of fun doing them, so hopefully someone will have fun watching them. I took some time to look up different book tags and I found one created by Hannah's Bookshelf, which I will link below. It's on her blog and it is called the Bookshelf Q&A tag. So I've taken a brief glance at the questions, but I haven't really looked that hard into it yet or prepared anything because I would just like it to be organic, so I'll be editing it together as I'm getting up and down to grab the books that are applicable. So, the first question, what is the oldest book on your shelves? And I think of that not oldest as in publication, but oldest as in which one have I owned the longest. So, give me a minute. Okay, so I grabbed two because I'm not sure which one actually is the oldest. I have a feeling, but I'm not 100%, so I grabbed two. I have some of my children's books, so that sounds like, no, books from my childhood. So I grabbed two of them. So the first one is The Little Beaver, which is written by Christopher Jordan and illustrated by Stephanie Bowie. I have The Little Beaver and I believe it's the Snowy Owl or the Little Snowy Owl. My grandmother gave these to me and I remember them very far back. The illustrations are absolutely gorgeous. I love them. The other one, which I think might actually, I'm pretty positive I've had longer than that one, is Bedtime for Bunnies, a Pika-board book by Marilyn Sadler, illustrated by Roger Bolin. And I loved this book. This was one of my top books as a toddler. I think the only one, there was a few top ones, but the top one was, I think it was called like It's Time to Go, something like that. It was a Sesame Street book and it was Betty Lou potty training her doll, and I think my parents ended up having to hide the book or something. It was every single night, multiple times. That was the book. The next question is, what's a book that you'll never get rid of? There's a lot that I have those feelings about. I'm probably gonna need to show multiple. It's too hard to pick one. It's simply too hard. Yeah, okay. Okay, so I'm pretty sure I definitely cheated because I did not pick one book. I selected a handful. I'm just gonna roll through them because there are a fair few books I just would hope to never have to get rid of like that. I will hold on throughout everything, and that is because they've been gifted to me by loved ones. A lot of thought and emotion behind them, and they mean something to me. So just reaching over Kiara. The first one that came to mind is The Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame. My husband and I exchange books with each other every year on Christmas Eve, which follows the Icelandic tradition to do that. So every Christmas Eve we'd exchange books, read a little bit that evening, make hot beverages, cozy up with a Christmas movie. Very nice night. And in 2020 we got married on Christmas Eve, and this was the book he got me that year. It's a beautiful edition. It is the Penguin Deluxe edition. Yeah, so it has the deckled edges and the cover's beautifully textured. I actually haven't read it yet. I started reading it to us and then we kind of just stopped with that, so I might just read it for myself. Okay, Kiara, honey, you're in the way. But that being said, it's very, very special to me because of that night. And then another one would be, wow, those pages have yellowed. Holy. And the cover too. Wow. Okay. It is The Weight of Ink by Rachel Kadish. Sorry. I got this in 2018 before I left Canada. It would have been one of the last books I bought before moving. My husband and I had met and we'd been dating for, I think potentially a couple months at that point. Actually, I probably have the receipt in there. I love keeping the receipts for the books because then I can see, oh, except it is completely faded, the date that I bought it on, because then if it was something like a birthday or that, I can remember that. Okay, I got it in May of 2018, so yeah, we'd been going out together for a few months, and I was on the phone with him after my shift at work, talking about this book, how much I wanted it. Again, it has cycled edges, it's really floppy, it sounded really interesting, and he asked me why I didn't buy it. You know, for him it was fairly simplistic. You wanted that badly, buy it. You know, I could afford to do so at the time, so it was very, why not? But I guilt myself a lot about things like that, and I struggled to do that, and I was like, well, give me a good reason why I should buy it, and he was like, because it would make you happy. And it was just so point blank to him, and that was a very touching moment for me, and every time I look at that book I think about that. Fantastic book as well. Read it like right then, so don't remember super intensely the details, but still. Another book is Greenwood by Michael Christie. I've mentioned this one a couple times this year. I read it in January, and it has a tree cookie on the edges of the pages. My mom bought this for me last year, and I was so excited to read it, and I had an intense reading experience with it. It was very stressful, but I think, like, now that I know how everything goes, how it all happens, I think I would reread it. Like, I can definitely see myself rereading it, but it's very special. It's set off the coast of Vancouver in British Columbia in an old growth forest for portions of the book, and I grew up going camping each summer to Vancouver Island, so yeah, it was just very near and dear and close to me. And then the last one, I promise, I whittled it down, is this box set, which I got for Christmas in, was that 2020 as well? See, the pandemic, it all blurs together. 2020 or 2021. Anyway, I got this for Christmas from my husband. I was really wanting to get into Tolkien. I hadn't read any of his books yet, and I think this box set is just adorable. I love the artwork on this side. I think it's just amazing. So I did read all 4 books. I actually put up reading vlogs or reviews of them, and it's very, very special. Very, very, very sentimental to me. So yeah, anyway, moving on. Sorry. Which book has been on your TBR for the longest? As I instantly look at it, it would be a debate between this one and one other, but I'm pretty positive I've had this one longer. This one I had such high hopes for, and I've been struggling so much to read it, but it is The Blind Astronomer's Daughter by John Pipkin. I am going to be deciding this year if it's something I will be reading or not. The furthest I got to was page 91, and that was like forcing myself. It is extremely slow paced, and I'm really struggling with that. So yeah, it's the premise really interested me. I thought I would love it, but I don't know, and it mocks me. It sits up there on my shelf and it mocks me. But I do struggle a bit with slow-paced books. My mom doesn't, and she enjoys historical fiction, so I may potentially I'll see if I'm not going to read it, I'll see if she wants it, and that could work, but yeah. What's the newest addition to your shelves? I have that right here. that is The Lost Spells by Robert Macfarlane, illustrated by Jackie Morris. It is a poetry book it is a poetry book of nature, animals, plants, gorgeousness. It's just beautifully put. It's so satisfying. It's meant to be read aloud, and it's so satisfying to say. I especially so far loved Jackdaw. Like, that one, just to say, like, to speak, oh, it was so much fun. The illustrations are stunning. Like, they're gorgeous. My husband got me this for my birthday, so basically each night I've been reading a poem or two to us, though I think last night was 3. I just really couldn't put it down. And what I loved was, we very much so got past the middle last night, because at the middle of the book you get heartwood. And I think that's incredible, because the center of a tree cookie is the heartwood. So if you're looking at this like a tree cookie, that would be the heartwood, which actually, just to go off on a little bit of a tangent, Greenwood is formatted like a tree cookie with the timelines. You go most recent to furthest back out to most recent. And in the middle, let's see if I can do that. I really should have tabbed that. At the beginning of every section, it would say, oh, that's about to be it, I'm pretty sure. It would name each timeline and the year it was in it, but then, oh yeah, okay, I can't quite get there. But when you got to the middle, it names that section Heartwood, because we've made it through the journey so far, as I still look, to, there we go. Oh, okay, it's just the title of the chapter. That's why I struggled. I thought it was a whole, like, title page, but Heartwood, because we made it to the center point. Oh, that was such a great book. So that's kind of cool that those are both elements of books that are recently there for me. What's one book / edition that you desperately want for your shelves? There's 2 that instantly come to mind. One is The Other Valley by Scott Alexander Howard, which came out in February, and I'm looking at that book daily. I'm looking at it a few times a day. I want it so badly. I want to read it. I want to love it. It sounds like everything I love in a book, just so I would love that one. And then the other one is Floating Hotel, The Floating Hotel. I can't remember the author's name, but that is a newly published one. I saw it in Waterstones a few weeks ago, and I haven't stopped thinking about it. It's set on a floating hotel in space, and it sounds so cool. I keep thinking about it. I can't get it out of my head. So those 2 would be the answer to that. Is there a book you own several copies of? Yeah, there is. It's behind me. Okay, the book that I own several copies of is Ariadne. I did a reading vlog of this, I believe, in 2021. Reading the ARC that I had been so graciously sent. I was so thankful for it. I had an incredible time. I think it was my top book of the year. It became like a part of my personality that year, and I absolutely loved it. I had the finished copy, the signed edition, pre-ordered with Waterstones, except then it did so well, which is incredible and amazing. They brought out a second special edition, which I haven't seen that happen again unless it's like a book of the year of theirs. But it's this edition, which is also a signed one, and I understand it's ridiculous. I get it, and I have thought about, like, between these 2, you know, but they're both beautiful in their own way, and yeah, it's a problem. But here we are. Actually, thinking about it as well, I have the ARC for Electra, as well as the finished copy for Electra, which I haven't read yet, so I would like to get to that and do maybe a themed reading vlog on it. I've heard fantastic things, and seeing how much I loved Ariadne. yeah, that would be incredible. But next, what is the longest series on your shelves? I'm not much of a series person. I don't really read series, so I think that's going to be a very simple answer. Oh, it's behind me. That's why I can't spot it. So, that would be the Lux series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I read this series in 2014, I believe, and it consumed me. It was my whole personality. So there's Obsidian and Onyx, Origin, Obsidian, ooh, I used to have all of them memorized. Opal, Origin, and Opposition. And then there was, I'm trying to remember the name. There's another one. No, this is not it. This is not the cover of it. Yeah. The Opposition and Shadows. Oh yes, because that has the prequel. But then there's the other one. It's still in Canada. It is Obsidian from the male main character's POV. I don't remember what it's called. But yeah, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 books to this series. And I inhaled it. I worked at a bookstore at the time. And I had most of the staff reading that book. That series, and majority loved it as well. It was a whole thing. It was such a moment in my life. And then, how do you organize your bookshelves? I love organizing my bookshelves. So I mainly have them organized by genre, and then within that, alphabetical by the surname of the author. However, this bookcase here beside me, which would be like my near and dear to my heart one, I have organized, instead of by genre, by location. I have it organized geographically. Still by surname of author within that, but I love reading books of places, like set in places where I currently live or have lived, whether that's books written by Canadian authors set in Canada, or by Northern Irish authors set in Northern Ireland, or the Republic of Ireland, even though I don't live down south. Have gone, would like to see more. So not specifically living, sorry, but have been to that are just very near and dear to my heart. So I have 3 shelves of Canadian books, and then a shelf each for Northern Ireland, Republic of Ireland, and Scotland. And I didn't do England because I have a lot of historical fiction, and I would say probably 90% of that, at least, is set in England by English authors. So yeah, I love that because I've really learned. I love reading a book. Like if I sit down to read a book and it starts like talking about Victoria or the BC coast, or if it's talking about Nova Scotia or Newfoundland, I want to see there because I haven't been. But it's very special to me to read about, my home country that I no longer live in. On the reverse of that, reading a book set in Belfast, I'm like, I know there, and it's really cool for me. So I like having my shelves themed that way. So that was very exciting when I got that all put together. Do you have any space for new books on your shelves? Yes, I do. And what I do when I have spare space is I do face outs. So it's filled for the time being until I run out of space and need to take a face out away. Like I was just saying, my Canadian books, I have 3 shelves, but if I put them all spine to spine, it would be 2 shelves worth. But I know I'm focusing quite a bit on reading Canadian literature and growing that, so I'm going to need that space first. So I condensed space in other places where I'm not really intending to grow that area. But I do, thankfully, have space. for more books, which is a big peace of mind. Do I decorate my bookshelves with anything? I do. I try to theme it to the shelves. So, like my Canadian shelves, I'll have things from Canada. I have made in Canada, whether that is a soapstone clock or a piece of Jasper with Jasper Bear on it from Jasper, or some Polaroid photos, or totem pole, like things made in Canada that are very Canadian. On my Northern Ireland and Ireland shelves, I have the things that I've picked up in my travels around here. I have a Irish coffee cup that I would not use, but I found it in an antique store. I think it's very pretty, so I have it there. I have a souvenir glass from the Irish Whiskey Museum in Dublin from when I went there. So things themed along there. For my Scotland shelf, I have like a little Nessie and, you know, all along that way. I have a little Highland Coo. I have some water from Loch Ness. So those shelves are excessively themed, which I really enjoy. The rest of them, in my historical fiction, I have some stuff that I've got from London, and it seems to make a lot of sense. My romance shelf, I just kind of try to color coordinate. And then probably aside from there, it gets a bit more random. But I just find it really satisfying when it all tells a cohesive story. I really enjoy that. That was the, hang on, the bookshelf Q&A tag. I had a lot of fun doing that. That was, it brought up a lot of books that I haven't handled or thought of or looked at for a while, which is pretty cool. I really like that. So I quite enjoyed that, and if you want to, I tag you. And thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you in my next one. Take care. Bye-bye.